Creator burnout is all over the place, and it is honestly rolling like another epidemic in the world, but so is recovering from creator burnout. You can't achieve your creative goals unless you get over it and unless you figure out what's causing it and how to deal with that. And that's what we're talking about in this week's episode. So let's dive in. What is up, entrepreneurs? Welcome back to the Simplified podcast with me, your host, that's Diana Gladney. I'm super pumped to dive into this week's episode because this is a real issue that I'm seeing more and more people kind of succumb to, and it's worse than the flu or anything else out there on the market. And it has become something of a creator disease, a content creator disease. But there is a way to get rid of this dis-ease that you are experiencing, and at some point in your creative journey very well could experience. Like I said before, this is a very real thing and people are dealing with this to a point. But again, there is a way to go about recovering this. And I think in the years of my experience and making videos nonstop and continuously pushing through and stuff like that, I don't want to make it seem like I'm some bionic person. I don't have feelings or emotions, like things don't bother me or anything like that. And how I'm able to keep constantly pushing the ball forward, no matter what else is going on, and even dealing with a literal chronic disease in life. And still not letting that get the better of me and still being able to push forward. And everybody has their own cross to bear, as it were. And so there's a ton of different things that can just kind of keep compounding on you. And then the one thing that you want to do, which is making content, whether it be for your business or your brand, or maybe you're one of the small sub-factor of people that are watching the channel, listening to the podcast, where you are doing it for a hobby or for fun or for something else, but you still are kind of feeling and dealing with this. So let's get into this. I got my notes. Let's get it rocking and rolling. So it's a couple things that can be causing it. And I am somebody that just likes to step up and let's punch the devil square in the jaw, because when it comes to really dealing with your challenges and it really comes to dealing with that big bully, whatever it may be at that present moment in your life, the only way to conquer it is to completely obliterate and delete it and beat it. And so one thing is, like, we have to acknowledge that we're flesh and blood human beings. We go through ebbs and flows in life, and sometimes life beats you up really bad. And so the first thing you want to do is honestly acknowledge, is this depression? And I mean like real depression in your life, because what can start for some that I've seen, it is not creator burnout so much. So you actually have other issues in your life that is truly causing a depression, which is cause for you to actually go and get help. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being strong enough to go out and say, you know what? The best of the best minds in the world, the people that I look up to, the people that have the success that I aspire to have in life, still had to go get help, even if everything was okay. And they still had to go get help even when things were bad. Just really think about it. Do you really believe that any favorite mentor, coach, or somebody that you look up to or aspire? You have a lot of people that love like Alex Hormozy, or they love like Gary Vee, or whatever the case is. And they look up to these individuals or whoever. Hell, it could be me for, who all knows what. But when you look at who these people are that are movers and shakers in your life, I have those that I look up to as well. I love both of those individuals. And you can have a moment in your life when you like, dag, like, I might want to get and make sure that things are okay. And it's better to be in that position and take authority over what's happening and what you're experiencing by first acknowledging, like, maybe this doesn't just stop at the thing that I am most interested in and that brings me joy. And maybe I need to look at other areas in your life, because chances are things may not be great in other areas of life. So needless to say, video content creation is just one other avenue of where things are not at their best. And so you hear creative burnout or creator burnout or just burnout in general, and you're like, man, I'm just burnt out. I'm exhausted. I'm tired and whatever. I get it. But is it really creative burnout, or are you depressed? Like, is it depression? And is that something that needs to be addressed? I cannot recommend to you the who to go see or the what you should do, but I would highly encourage you to get some counseling and go seek professional advice. This is not professional medical advice or anything like that. But what I would suggest is that you actually go to an expert and somebody that you feel comfortable talking, not your friends, not your family, like somebody that for real can help with what you're doing. Not just your friends and family can't, but like it's important to know. It's just like if an emergency happened and something horrendous, like, I don't know, a toe got cut and you know, bleeding profusely or whatever, God forbid. But it's like, you don't go to a friend and it's like, oh gosh, guess what? My toe just flew down the highway in an accident. It's just like, no, you go to the ER. You go see real medical professionals. At that point, it's like you have to know, even when it's not bodily harm type something, but it's a psychological, it's a mental thing. There's still a cause for when we hit the button to say, let's go seek professional advice versus just seeking personal advice that in the moment can feel better, but it may not give you any actual strategies, use cases, and the true support system that you need with those strategies to actually move forward. So it's just acknowledging, like, potentially, is this depression? The next thing is making sure and asking yourself, is this excuses? Sometimes the biggest roadblock is you. It's you getting in your own way. So if it's not depression and you're like, well, no, life is good other places, I'm just having this issue mostly in this area. Okay, then it's like, well, let's ask ourselves. And again, let's address the elephants in the room and say, is this excuses? Is this something around me creating excuses to make myself feel comfortable? And we've all been guilty of it. I have a moment where it's like over the holidays and I'm like, dang, I'm really feeling this. And then I had to stop and think. And again, anytime, like I talked about in last week's episode, anytime that I can feel myself spiraling, where I self-describe this as, if I'm in a thought pattern or a loop or a cycle where either, number one, I'm repeating the same thoughts, number two, I'm repeating the same reasonings and rationalities, or number three, I'm just kind of repeating something about like the action, the behavior, the thought, like something about this is the same. And I'm just kind of going down a thought loop that's not positive and leading to solution. It's more so leading into a negative area, whether that's emotion or again, the thoughts or the potentialities of the thoughts. It's like you're pre-thinking scenarios of a situation that you don't want. Let's not imagine failure. Let's imagine success. And so if I feel myself in a spiraling thought loop where I'm thinking about, well, I'm feeling like this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I've said that before. I've said that a couple times before. So it's like, I probably want to stop. And so if I feel like, it's like, I've repeated that before. Now I want to stop, pause, and now I want to address it. For me, that's journaling. And so I always have a journal with me, even if I'm traveling, so I can capture my thoughts and start to decompress. Like one of my favorite times, for example, when I'm traveling, it's right before I get on the plane. Put my earbuds in, I'm listening to whatever. I'm not necessarily listening to something like a podcast or anything. I put on some music. So I like Sade or whatever, how you pronounce it exactly. And I'll listen to that, or I'll listen to something with no words. Maybe it's like lo-fi music or whatever. And so I'm just listening to something to further drown out the noise of the airport and just further tune into my own thoughts and just kind of get centered. Then it's like I'll do it again in those other moments where maybe I'm in an Uber, or maybe I've just gotten to the hotel and I'm trying to settle down. And I want to think about, what am I thinking about? I want to get those thoughts on paper so I'm not just feeling my thoughts, but I can actually go back and read them and see, based on like how I'm feeling, let me review what I'm thinking in a written form. I take it from my feeling and make it into something tangible. Then I can identify, am I creating excuses for myself? Am I getting in my own way? And sometimes when it comes to creator burnout, it's not being burnt out from doing an activity a lot. It's coming sometimes from thinking about an activity that you have not engaged in yet, but you're freaking out about the potentialities and the maybes and the possibilities of what could be, but what hasn't happened yet. The thing that I want you to think about is, why are you doing this? Are you creating excuses for yourself versus, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it really creator burnout? So it's like, just ask yourself, is it really excuses that I'm creating here instead? And it's really not creator burnout. The third one on this side of things is to ask yourself, is this real? And I really, really, really mean this is something that only you can answer. Like, is this really real? Am I actually really dealing with this? Or again, is it going back to number two? And it's like, I'm just really creating excuses. Do I really want what I say that I want? Or has this just been a goal or a thought? And it's like, you can buy stuff all day long. You can buy cameras, you can buy lenses, you can buy programs, you can do free trials, you can watch tutorials, watch some more stuff, do another trial. And it's like, I don't really like that. And you're not actually taking action. You're just kind of doing busy work, expensive busy work, cost-effective busy work. You buy a camera, you play with it, and you make some play videos, but you never actually post anything with full intentionality of growing your YouTube channel, of actually making the videos bring and generate money into the business. And you're never fully giving it everything that you have. And for some reason, you're holding back, whether that be on investing in yourself and strategy so you can get more strategic about what you're doing, or you're wasting the time because you're used to creating excuses. And this feels at least better than doing nothing. But in truth, if we're being very honest with ourselves, it's still a form of doing nothing because the result is still nothing. The difference is when you're watching a tutorial and you bought the gear and you're doing the things that the tutorial is talking about, or you're learning to use the stuff, the difference between that being busy work and resulting in nothing versus it actually resulting in something is action. Simply taking action. It can be a time waster, an excuse, a fallacy, and imagining if you're only doing the actions around the stuff, the related stuff. We buy the gear, we watch the tutorials, we join the live streams, we comment, we do all the stuff, but we never actually do the thing. We don't produce the video. So again, it kind of goes back to like, I'm exhausting myself mentally thinking about something, but I never really give it my all. I don't really actually follow through. I'll say, oh, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't know if, I need to watch some more tutorials. I don't know enough to do it. I don't know if enough to, I don't have the right gear enough to do it. I don't have it all there. Again, that goes back into number two. Are we creating excuses? So we have to ask ourselves, is this really real? Do I really, really want this? And if I'm getting in my own way, if the answer is yes, and I'm getting in my own way, figuring out why. Get real with yourself and center with yourself and ask yourself why. So that's one side of the scope of things. The other side of this, when it comes to creator burnout, is your goals could be where they're too small. So let's say it is creator burners, not none of the other things, the false starts or anything like that, or the false expectancies. Or let's say it is creator burnout. Okay, could the reason for this be, and the way to recovery for this is because like our goals have been too small. And maybe they're too easy to achieve. And so because you probably could achieve them at any point, it's no real pressure to get it done. And it will work because it's too easy. The goal is too small. Even sometimes, it's the weirdest thing. And it's no kind of ego thought, anythings. But sometimes your goals that you think are the big goals are still too small. They're still easy to achieve if you gave it your all. Fun fact, I had this happen many times in a row. And I remember one specific season of life, I checked off like 6 boxes of, in my mind at the time, big goals. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? In like a quarter's time frame. I'm like, and I had those goals prior to me quitting my job and stuff like that. And so, you're doing all the work and all the things up until the point. And so I was. And then in like a quarter's time frame, 6 of those